That's so nice.
Yeah.
So we did...
I think this is like one of the nicest things I've ever done.
Oh. In January 2020, I released Soft String Spurs. People loved it, but I always wanted to go a little bit further. But what would that be? Soft String Spurs Pro? Hi, my name's Dan Keane. I'm a composer, producer and musician based in London. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing really, really well, and I am incredibly excited today to share with you Soft String Textures, the culmination of a 2-year experiment that began with Soft String Spurs, a piano book project that I uploaded, just me and my viola, creating a few bespoke samples, and it really took off. Over 5,000 downloads across the 3 instruments that I published. And I always wanted to go that a little bit further. I always wanted to experiment with a full ensemble. I always wanted to take those samples and put them out through effects pedals and things like that. And more than anything, I wanted to bring professional players in and use their expertise to workshop some samples that not only sound beautiful, but carry really well across your scores. At Spitfire Audio, this weekend, we're launching a brand new Aperture Cassette Symphony library, and you can get it free if you spend over a certain amount on Spitfire Audio's website. And I'm very pleased to say that if you buy this library, it will also count towards that as well. So an even greater incentive to buy it during this period. I wasn't sure what the best way to present this library in the first instance was. So I thought I'd just take you along from a bit of a vlog journey that I did from May when I first started this thing. Here we are. So this is Studio A. So this is going to be our home for the next few days. I'm bloody excited. I really am. It's 12:15. Mira, the cellist, is coming in at 2. One thing with the main Soft String Spurs patch was that I wanted to make sure that every player in every dynamic layer was going to be playing with the same bowing, which, if you're familiar with the concept, is quite unmeasured. And so the way I've done that is I've filmed myself in possibly the weirdest thing I've ever done on camera, which is to film myself conducting sort of by just bowing in silence. Let's talk about the video.
I don't know why this is funny.
Have you ever had to play to someone else air playing their instrument before?
Yeah, like all the time. I feel like that's
good to know.
Well, I've never played to a video of someone doing that.
Right.
But that's all that like conductors are really there for. All people want is a gesture and to know like roughly when to play and how to play it, and you can say all of that very quickly with a gesture.
You won't hear a dynamic crossfade that smooth. With these types of articulations, it's really hard to avoid that slight phasing, but because the bowing's the same across each of these samples, you always get a perfect crossover. I guess the important thing with things like this is just to record the magic at the source rather than trying to create something after the fact. All right, Mira, could you just play one more time? Sounds good, I think.
Right, shall I leave you to it then?
You sure
Do your
thing.
magic, and I'll get out of the way.
So I can still...
Don't forget to record 10 seconds of room.
Of course. I'm going to hit record and then I will play the video. Just want to... Yeah, we've got everything.
Why don't you play that juicy chord?
Oh yeah, okay.
A cluster chord. Can you do it with all strings at the same time? Ooh. That, the cello at the bottom. So nice. I love that you can hear like different notes like popping out.
Yeah, that's nice.
So nice.
Well done. Harmonic whistles was a weird one. I basically wanted this to be something that swells a little bit, but also has a real kind of life to it. So you very rarely get harmonics with vibrato. It's quite difficult to do, especially on a cello, but Mira was an absolute trooper. Okay, day 2. This is the violin session today with Ellie Conster. It is about 11 o'clock now. I need to go over to Spitfire, get set up. We're back here in Studio A. Now, Studio A is basically the control room to what we're doing. So we have Mira here, and it's got a lovely perspective. So that's the setup. I need to get these microphones set up. It's just me here today, so it's going to take a little bit longer. Okay, so here's our selection of microphones today. We've got the Close KM84s. These are the Neumanns. Right. Do you mind if I set up a camera?
Yeah, of course. I mean, no, I don't mind.
Yes, of course I mind. So basically, I'm going to spend most of the time actually in here with you.
Yeah, great.
Because I think it would be nice for us just to like workshop the sounds a bit.
Yeah, sure.
It's been quite helpful actually, having done this with Mira and figuring out what works and what doesn't. So the main patch I think takes about an hour. The whole point with this, articulation in particular, is that it's supposed to be quite sort of wild and lively. And often when people are recording stuff, it's like...
you make it neat.
Yeah, and I think there's something really cool about the idea of actually hearing the bow changes. Okay, are you ready to see the weirdest thing I've ever made?
I can't wait.
I hope it doesn't let you down. It's really something.
G sharp 2.
Isn't it fun? So you'll see that will be the top. So each round robin is identical.
It's the same video.
It's the same video 3 times though.
Okay. But every note was different, so it doesn't sound robotic at all.
Yeah.
It just sounds... I think that's like the quickest way that you could have communicated that to a player, and then for that to be communicated to an audience, which again is like what you would do if you're playing live.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
I think, yeah.
Up here, you can layer up so many different notes at the same time. I mean, how many notes have we got there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Only 6, I guess.
Are some of those harmonic ones? Yeah, that sounds like real violins to me.
Yeah. I'm here in Studio C, which is a room that doesn't actually get used as a studio right now, but it's got the best natural light. Great session with Ellie today. I think there's something really invaluable about speaking to people, trying to kind of translate your ideas into something that's actually tangible, but also going in with an open mind, you know, asking questions of people, getting them to give their 2 cents on whether they think something works, you know, asking them what's actually physically possible and whether they'd suggest something different, because I think that's the problem as well. You can go in with a very clear idea of what you want, and you can be really protective of that idea, but I think it's also really valuable to appreciate and acknowledge the fact that these musicians, they know their instruments inside out, and they're going to know things that you don't necessarily know about how to get the best sound out of something. So it's been really interesting today, and I think I'm really looking forward to next week now, where we can begin to piece this all together. And something else that I think is really valuable when talking to instrumentalists, or just talking to anyone in general, I think this is a really important skill to be able to build on, and it's something that I'm working on, is sort of the ability to raise morale within a group or within a situation. I think so often you can be sort of, I'm going to make this thing happen and we're going to get it all done really quickly. But the problem with that is people leave either really jaded and tired and irritable, or you know, just less inclined to do something like that with you in the future. I think if they've had fun, it makes it all worthwhile. And of course you're paying them too, which is really good. But I think where possible, knowing when to sort of make light of something that happened, or trying to find something to bond over, I think it's a really useful thing, and it's something that I think ultimately gets better results out of people. So I would always recommend that. I guess that's the end of day 2. And I'll check back in on day 3. The first thing that struck me about the way that you play is like, and actually I noticed this with everyone, like in the sample sessions, that like often there are some people who start their vibrato like basically as soon as the note begins, and then it's like it's a constant thing.
I was consistently told that or told off about my vibrato at college because of that, but I like that you like it.
Well, I just remember there'd be some people who, obviously it depends on the style, but there are some people who are just like, it's almost like a tremolo that is like, it's
consistent.
Just so consistent.
That's what a lot of people are taught at music college, but I like using vib in different, I feel like it should be used to colour different things in different ways, or to not colour.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
Yeah. You can see this groundbreaking bit of video content as well. That's great. Nice. So if we do the first one muted, if we do the first dynamic muted. Yeah, that's great.
So not too fluffy.
Not
or do you want fluff?
I think not too fluffy. What would more fluff sound like?
More fluffy would be kind of like.
Maybe halfway in between. That's really nice.
And that speed as well.
I think so. I mean, I find that doing a slightly faster bow definitely brings in more of that fluffiness. But I think the way you just had it before was really nice as a sort of as a starter.
Yeah, just shout if you want me to do something different. Shout if
that's great.
you want anything more or less or anything.
That's cool.
But that thing, like the fluff,
Yeah.
is also like the thing that makes it sound human, isn't it?
Yeah,
like
totally.
you can hear the bow on the string. It's not like
That's the most important thing for me, I think. Like, to be able to hear, like, if you were to hold down a chord, it's just like you guys just take over, basically.
yeah.
This is the most fluffy, I guess, because it's the bottom dynamic.
But it's also the thing that often gets edited out of recordings.
Yeah. We did have some conversations about that. Like, do we want this to sound less noisy? Does it have too much noise? And it's like, well, I don't think it does.
Oh, it sounds so nice. I think it's atmospheric.
Yeah.
And all the bow changes are like so soft.
Yeah.
I could
just
sit
wish I
here
had-
and like listen to you playing chords on this all day.
That is what I've been doing most of every day the last few days. I wish I had more hands.
Yeah.
I feel like I need one hand on the faders. And it's nice having the lowness of Mira on the cello as well. Nice. That soft string spurs patch is really the only one that requires a little bit of constraint, because all of the other ones were a bit less detailed. Like, you didn't have so many dynamic layers or round robins. Whereas with like
Round robins.
whereas with like the harmonic whistles and the staggered trems and things, it was like kind of up to you how you wanted to play it.
Yeah.
So with this staggered trem thing, I think if we just allow you to sort of make it sort of whatever you want it to be, it can be fairly free. It's not too fast, although when Ellie did it, it was sort of like... I think it just wants to be this sort of, this gentle thing, this very circular bowing sort of feel, that when it all blurs together, it just becomes this sort of like wild and free thing.
So like...
I think it should be quite soft, like really more fluffy, as we were saying. Maybe like a very soft, subtle vibrato, but I think... maybe even less.
Less vibrato.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nice.
Do you want any bits faster or slower?
That's the thing, I don't think it has to be really metronomic.
Do they all have to be similar? Or can I do different
No, I think
things?
the more different the better.
Okay, cool.
Just that one D4, she's like... Nice. With these staggered tremolos, I really wanted to capture the wild and free nature of just having the players do what they wanted to do with it. So this is Georgie on the viola. The same goes for these sporadic trills. I've done these in major seconds and minor thirds, and these are really, really beautiful. They're a little unpredictable, but the whole point is all of these extra articulations are working in service of the soft string spurs patch. So the idea with this is you've got a main chord, and then you might just want that extra note to kind of pop out a little extra major 9 in your chord, for example. And this is where I think it's going to really inspire you and take you in new directions compositionally. When people play this, I kind of want them to think of you guys when you're playing, like, because you're playing their pieces ultimately. But also,
I never thought of that.
I know it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But also, I think there's an aspect of something might happen. Something might happen while they're holding down a chord, where they suddenly are like moved to go in a different direction because of what happened in the sample.
Which is, I guess, the thing that you would have if you were recording in real life, like something unexpected might happen.
And I just love that. Like, you can really hear, it's like a live experiment, all of these.
I think maybe it's not, but I feel like because we play together as well, the sounds merge well.
They
with
merge
each other.
really well. Because each of them were recorded separately, because all of you were recorded separately, like, you're all having your little moments at times where you're like, oh yeah, that's nice. Whereas if you're in a section, I don't think you'd have that separation.
Yeah, you wouldn't hear. Which I guess is also like part of what makes it sound human.
Yeah.
It's like 3 individual,
I'd love to hear how it sounds, you playing like some parts, and then how you'd, because like obviously you arrange a lot of your own stuff as well. So I'd be curious to see how that blends together. Obviously, we did record a track of you just playing the solo part with the rest of it being this, but
should I get my violin out?
I mean, you could try if you want. That could be kind of interesting.
I mean, it might.
This
I
was-
hope
this
that
was
I
not
merge
planned
with
at
myself.
I would have thought you. Would you say that, like, when you hear this, does it sound like you to you?
Yeah, well, obviously I was like showing my partner the demo that you sent me, and and they were like, oh my god, yeah, that sounds like you when I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think so. Like that top note. Yeah.
Yeah.
The top notes. That sounds like my violin.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
So we did.
I think this is like one of the nicest things I've ever done.
Oh. I think it sounds like you as well now.
I'm gonna get my violin out.
We were not prepared to do that, but I would also be curious to see how that sounds. Do you have a key that you like at the moment?
That's nice. I mean, is that in a key?
Can be whatever key you like. I kind of went into a bit of a trance there. Like, it's so easy with that
But do you
kind
know
of...
what I mean about, like, I feel like the texture of that sounds like
Totally.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
But maybe if it was like on another violin, it might. I don't know.
I'll take what we recorded then and like mix it a bit more nicely, because I'm sure that would sound really nice.
I couldn't hear the when
Yeah,
I was playing the
I
thing
thought
very
about-
well. I was like, can't hear what notes you're playing.
I thought about giving you a pair of headphones halfway through. That was actually really nice. Like I think that's quite candid. Now, I mentioned that I really wanted to add a hybrid element to these. So we've also got 10 warps, which take all of these samples and effectively stretch them out across the keyboard through a whole load of effects that make this really, really beautiful to play. They accompany the main patches really well, but they're also really nice as standalones too. Because this is a slightly more hybrid thing, we've also got attack and release sliders, which is great for you to be able to kind of hone the exact sound you want. But there's also a more slider, which is activated by CC21, which is typically Spitfire's vibrato control. But of course, you can control click and change this to whatever you like. The great thing about more is it changes from patch to patch, so you have to play with it to figure out. Now, I know with this one, it adds an extra octave, and if I move my hand in a fairly parallel direction here with all of the faders moving at once, it creates this extra dimension as you go up through the dynamics. We've also got slightly more experimental patches like the flying fish. It's such a moving sound for me. It really, really is. Subliminal pulses is a good one as well because it syncs to the host tempo. It doesn't have to be too experimental. Warps 9 and 10 are actually really, really simple. This one is made from the samples, but it's called like a sine wave. And I really like adding this in because sometimes you've got all of the notes that you need in the arrangement, but you need a little bit more in some areas. So sometimes I might have a full chord that sounds lovely, but it just needs a little more of these lower frequencies. And rather than just boosting the harmonics or boosting those particular frequencies, sometimes I just like adding an extra part that doesn't get in the way. It's just very soft. That's what this is for, really. I mean, how great is that? And then actually a sine wave is actually a sine wave. But it's the perfect sine wave, because the reason I made this is because I'm a composer. This is the stuff that I need myself in my own sounds, in my own workflow, is sometimes you have a sub bass that sounds really nice, but as soon as you start playing it on a phone or a laptop or a small pair of speakers, you suddenly lose all of the bass and you think, oh, did I not bounce it with the bass in? Well, the reason for that is because it can't play those low frequencies. However, I have built something that enables us to eliminate this problem. So if I have a little analyzer here, I've just got the Pro Q3. Here I am with the mod wheel all the way down at the bottom. If I play some low notes, and I'm going to turn off the reverb for this because I don't need the reverb. Lovely sine wave. Nothing wrong with the sine wave. However, you're not going to hear it on those smaller speakers. If you're listening to this on a phone, you probably didn't hear any of that. However, as I start to turn the mod wheel up, look what happens to these harmonics. Now, this is really, really useful because you can dial this in as you want to. So what I often do is, and I've got this more slider, which I keep moving, but I won't do it for this. So at the bottom here, I tend to move the mod wheel and the expression at the same time. And this just allows you to get really, really subliminal with things. So it will come out of this low sub and then explore and bloom a little bit. I just find it's really, really musical. Now, the more slider in this case actually controls some saturation or distortion, so it adds a little bit more of those frequencies. And of course, this has been tweaked meticulously under the hood to give you something that's really, really musical throughout the range. Overall, I'm just incredibly grateful for your support. Without your downloads, without your support of this YouTube channel, we've just hit 20,000 subscribers, if you can believe it. Without all of this, this wouldn't be a thing. So whether or not you buy this library, thank you so much for supporting the channel over these last few years. Now, there's going to be loads of content about this library coming out, so do subscribe if you haven't done already, and hit the little notification bell to be notified when I put a video out. And now that I've finally put this thing to bed, I can get back to making videos again, which I'm really looking forward to as well. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Ellie, Georgie and Mira for playing on this library. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Goodbye.